Hi, I'm Amy, and this is A-Star Reads, and it's time for our Orilium TBR.
Woot!
So this is a great readathon that was created by G from Book Roast, and I'm really excited to be a participant in this because you're creating these characters. It's kind of like D&D in a sense because you get to do all these adventures and stuff like that, but it's mostly about the school setting, the academic. We're creating our characters and then taking them to school so they can become whatever they want.
Better.
Whatever they're, yeah, exactly. When I asked Mom if she wanted to do this with me, she was like,
Yeah.
we've both gone through the whole process of doing the novice path, then gearing up, although I'm not quite done gearing up, but you know, I'm getting there. And Mom's almost done with her calling because she's had a pretty good month so far reading.
Yeah. Books are just going by. I'm reading and reading and reading. I don't have school, and so I don't have that, and that's holding Amy up.
Yeah, it is. It's holding me up quite a bit. So this has been a great term so far, but it's taken a toll on me. I'm so excited about the summer. I can't wait for summer, and it's too soon to be excited about that.
Oh, a couple more months, maybe.
Yeah. So I know it's a little delayed, but we're going to give you a TBR nonetheless, and hopefully we'll be able to finish these TBRs within the month. I know you'll be able to. I may not be able to, but I have until August to finish these books, so I'm not too concerned, but these are the books that I'm going to be using for these classes. And so we'll tell you all about our cute little characters, and then we'll tell you our TBR and the classes we're planning on taking.
So my name is Selena. I picked that out when I started the novice path. I'm from Dark Meadow, rural part of Dark Meadow. I'm a Skymorn, which means I originally started out as a wisp, and I stayed as a wisp for 200 years. And during that time, as a wisp, the surface of Dark Meadow is really uninhabitable. Most people live underground, but wisps can go on top and not get attacked by the demons and the things that are there. So I was an explorer. At the age 200, we're allowed to change into a biological form. And I decided to do that.
Was that a hard decision to make?
No, I didn't want to live forever. Wisps can live forever. So I became a biological being at the age of 250. I waited a couple years deciding about it, but I'm happy about it. Once I became solid, I started studying in the Underworld Library. And I'm currently 349 years old, and I want to continue being a scholar. That's why I decided to follow this path.
So what's this path you're taking?
I'm going to be leaving Dark Meadow and attempting to go to school in Orilium.
Yeah, the Orilium Academy.
That's my path.
Okay, so what are you going to be doing there?
Well, I've learned that my calling is a dream walker. There were a lot of choices. It's not necessarily something a Skymorn does, but it felt like me. So I want to be a dream walker.
Do you like dreaming?
I like the idea of going in and helping somebody get through their pain or sorrow or happiness by guiding them in their dreams or helping them along to get over fears and problems that they have that may be in their dreams. I want to help.
Skymorns are mischievous, so I bet she wants to be in people's dreams so she can screw with them.
No, that isn't me. I was.
Dreamwalkers are kind of devious too.
They can be. No, so that is
maybe
true.
That works out perfectly. You could be a devious Skymorn and a devious.
Have you ever known me to be devious?
Listen to that laugh. So you're planning on not being
true to my heritage. You are right. I do like to play tricks on people, but only to make them laugh, not to hurt their feelings, not to belittle them, but I like to make people laugh.
So you're going to make happy tricks in people's minds.
I'm not going to do tricks in people's minds. I'm going to help heal them.
She's going to be a nice dream
Mental
walker.
healing instead of physical healing.
Okay. What are you going to use for your magic?
Well, I miss being a wisp, and so I thought an orb would be perfect. I mean, I can see this beautiful pink shiny orb. It'll remind me of my past.
So what guild are you joining?
I got sorted into the House of Arcane, and I'm really excited about it because it's science-based.
Yeah, okay, well that makes sense.
So, you know, I'm really into the mind thing. So this all works out for me.
So what legacy did you choose?
Well, there were several to choose from, but the one that really called to me was the Monocle of Vigilance. Once I became a biological entity, I spent a lot of time reading in the Underworld Library, and steampunk really was fun to read. And that monocle, I just can imagine that monocle with all the gears and everything around it, my big old eyes sticking out. I think it'll be perfect
That
legacy.
sounds very appropriate.
It's me.
Are you excited about starting this term?
Yes. It seemed like I had a lot of books to read. I wanted one of those things where I only had to have 3, but no, I had to have 7.
You gotta pick the dream walker.
It was perfect.
It's really nice to meet you, Selena.
Nice to meet you too. Who are you?
So I'm Calla, and this is not actually my given name. Calla is a name that I've taken on because of the calling that I would like to have. But I am a city girl. I'm from Carador, and I come from a very traditional dwarfish background. And everything about my life was very dwarfish, except that from a very early age, my parents did pass away, and it was rough. And I went through a phase after they had passed where I had hoped to bring them back. And so I dabbled in necromancy without any knowledge or experience, and that was
Wow.
a bad time. Yeah, it was a bad time. It taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about myself and some of the things that I actually have affinities for and some of the things I'm actually very good at. But it also taught me to respect the magic. I am ready to start my actual education of becoming a necromancer. But now that I know what I know based on my dabbling, I would like to sort of improve the reputation of necromancers, because I think that there is so much good that can come from necromancy. But when it's used incorrectly, or when it's used with bad intentions, it's very dangerous, and it's also heartbreaking. Like, it's really heartbreaking. So I am excited to become a necromancer, but then also become like a representative for necromancers and show the good, because a lot of necromancers get really bad reputations, and that's because there's a few bad apples, just like there are in anything. But with necromancy, you can cause a lot of damage if you are a bad apple. And so I was never a bad apple. I just had bad intentions, or I just had intentions that, you know, like, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I have actually been accepted into the Archivist's Guild.
Excellent.
So I'm really excited because I am pledging my allegiance to Valinus, god of death and rebirth. And so with this connection with Valinus, I'm going to be an amazing necromancer.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm excited about it because I really do want to do big things for my guild. I want to do big things in the name of necromancy. And I think I just have a lot of ambition. I'm really, really excited about my path. The other element that I think is going to be important to my journey is my bone conduit, because I created it myself. It's not the best. It's not the best, but because of my dwarf background, I'm very good at inscription and artificery. So like, I know that I'm going to make really good bone conduits once I have some experience and once I have a lot more knowledge. So mine's a little rough, but I think I can make it better. And I think I can go into a business of creating bone conduits, and that can supplement my career as a necromancer.
Sounds like you. The little I've known about you. I'm just meeting you on this path.
Yeah, that's true. And we're going to be the best of friends on our journey through Orilium, even though we just met each other.
And a necromancer.
I mean, I guess they kind of could work
That
together.
could.
Yeah. I don't know.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, well, at least we can always just, you know, we can always help each other stay away from the dark side.
So what's your legacy?
I'm pledging my allegiance to the god of Valinus.
Oh.
Yeah. Wow. That's my legacy.
Wow.
It's a tall order. It's a tall order.
That sounds hard.
I know, it's not a nice little object. It's actually a commitment to a god.
You're tougher than I am.
Okay, so now let's talk about the spring equinox and what we're planning on taking. Hopefully we have some classes together, because now that we're going to be BFFs, we need to spend all our time together. I don't know if I like Skymorns.
I don't know if I like
Dwarves.
Dwarves.
You don't even know what I am. Rude. New best friend. Unbelievable. All right, so I'm just going to go through the syllabus, because honestly, I wish I was taking all these classes because they sound amazing.
We're different that way. I'm going to take the bare minimum.
The first school of magic is alchemy. And I think you're taking alchemy.
Yep, I got alchemy.
So the course focus is potion of infatuation, which makes sense because she's devious, and making someone love you seems a little, I don't know. You need to read a book featuring romance for yours. So what are you reading?
I've already read this. I've read You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogel. This is an engaged couple. They've been engaged for a while. The last name of the male, is Rose. There was an old 1980s movie called War of the Roses. It was a vicious movie. This was a married couple, Mr. and Mrs. Rose, and they decided they didn't love each other anymore and started doing vicious things to get each of them to break the marriage. And the movie was just squishy because it was so vicious. Well, I started reading this book, and first of all, the name Rose made me remember War of the Roses. And they're engaged, and I think they finally, the girl says, I don't think he loves me anymore. And so she decides she doesn't want to be the one to break the engagement, so she starts doing horrific things to him. He starts doing horrific things back. This is an enemies to lovers romance. So it
Doesn't sound very romantic.
Oh, it gets worse and then better. So I loved it.
Since you finished Alchemy already, what star rating did you give that book?
4 stars. It was fun. It was a real fun read.
Okay, so the next School of Magic is Animal Studies, which I have to take. I'm very excited about this one because I'm one with the creatures. And for this, my course focus is going to be Ways of a Pegasus, which I hope I get to fly a Pegasus. So for this, I need to read a quick read, and imagine that's because Pegasus probably fly pretty quickly. I'm going to be reading Fruits Basket Volume 4. This is the 4th book in the collector's edition, and I'm excited about this one because I get to continue the story about the Chinese zodiac animals. These are people that turn into the Chinese zodiac, and so I feel like it's really appropriate for animal studies because we're learning about all these different Chinese zodiac animals.
That'll be a quick read.
Yeah, we've been watching the show as well, and so it's fun to be able to read the manga and then watch the show. So
I have to do both. It's really hard for me to do mangas.
There's a lot of different characters in this, and there's a lot of like nicknames and honorifics and stuff, so it makes it difficult.
For me, not for you.
Well, I mean, supplementing it with the show has been very helpful. And the show's really good, the 2019 version. So that is my animal studies book, and I have not read it yet, so I can't give it a rating.
Cool.
The next School of Magic is Art of Illusion, and I think that you are going to be in the Art of Illusion class.
Yes, I'll be.
This is for mirror image. That's cool. So you create your own mirror image? Weirdo. Okay, for that, it's a book with a trope that you like.
One of my favorite romance tropes is fake dating. And the book that I read for this is called The Wedding Date Disaster. This features a girl and a pair of twins. Oh. One of the twins is her very best friend, and the other twin is her very best enemy. So she has to go to a sister's wedding, and she doesn't have a partner, and so she asks her best friend to go as her fake date. And so that's all arranged, and he's supposed to meet her there in the town where the girl's getting married. And who shows up is, instead of the twin that's her fake date, it was her enemy.
Oh no.
So this book actually has both my tropes, which is fake dating and
enemies to lovers.
Enemies to lovers. So it's really fun. This is written by Avery Flynn. I forgot to say that.
That's okay.
I gave it 4.25 stars.
Oh, so you liked it?
Really good. I mean, the first romance book that I read was good, but this one was a little bit better. 2 tropes that I like. So what's not to love about it?
Yeah, the combination.
Yeah, it was fun.
That sounds
really
good.
Fun.
That sounds cute.
Yeah, it was fun.
So the next School of Magic we have is Astronomy. Basics in Asteroids and Comets. Okay, so that might be interesting. And the book that you need to read for this is at the top of your TBR list. So you do have to take Astronomy.
Yes, and the top of my list was Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. Top of my list because I've heard a lot about it, and it was a buddy read with my friend Shell. I did read it. It was great. It was a kind of a 5 expectation, but I ended up giving it 4 stars. It wasn't quite 5 for me. Shelley rated it a 5. We had a nice discussion about it. She brought up things that I hadn't thought about, but it's still a 4 for me.
The next School of Magic is Conjuration. So the lesson focus is going to be Conjuring of Light, which that's pretty cool. And so for this, we need to read a book with Source of Light on the cover. And I know we're both taking this together.
Yes, togetherness.
We're so lucky. So for this class, I'm going to be reading The Weeping Tide. It's the 2nd book in the Wilder Lore series by Amanda Foody. This is a middle grade. And on the cover, I don't know if you can see it well, but there's bioluminescence. So there's some bioluminescence in the jellyfish, but then there's also these little specks of bioluminescence from different creatures on the cover. And I think this works for conjuring of light, especially because these creatures from the sea are actually conjuring their own light with bioluminescence, which I think is pretty cool. So this is an exciting one, and I can't wait to get to it. What are you doing for conjuring of light?
Well, I ended up with a book called Light from Uncommon Stars by Rika Aoki. Now, the front of the book has stars all over the front of it, and I know that stars get their light from something.
Themselves.
Yeah,
Stars, they conjure their own light.
Okay, so that's my light source. I have read the book. I loved the book. I gave it 5 stars.
What kind of book is it?
This is funny. It's a science fiction book set in Southern California, and there's 3 perspectives. There's a transgender girl, there's a violin master, she teaches violin, and there's actually a family of aliens. So you've got the 3 perspectives. It was just so unusual and so fun, and 5 stars. Read this book, Light from Uncommon Stars.
The next school of magic is demonology, and it's creating shadow demons, which I think is awesome. And the book prompt for this is word with shadow in the title. And as you can imagine, being a necromancer, demonology is definitely a class that I have to take. So for this, I'm going to be reading the book Whispers at Moonrise by C.C. Hunter. Now, I know that doesn't have shadow in the title, but this is part of the Shadow Falls series, and so the whole campground is named Shadow Falls. So to me, that works really well. And this is the 4th book in the series. It's hard to talk about this, but it's a paranormal school setting. All these teenagers are learning how to be better at their paranormal skills and then kind of how to get along in the human world. Then the next school of magic is elemental studies, and neither of us are taking elemental studies. So, good.
Yeah, good.
And then there's spells and incantations. For this one, we're learning how to do the anti-gravity spell. Actually, that sounds
I can
really
float.
cool. Yes!
I used to float. It's not
Well, you can go back to what you remember. Like you can start floating
I feel
again.
a little wispy.
And for this, we need to read a short story or essay. So what are you going to be doing for that?
Yeah, we have this class together, don't we?
Yeah, we're doing this. Yeah, we're doing this class together.
Another class together. Actually, Amy turned me on to this one. It's called For He Can Creep by Siobhan Carroll. It's a very short story. It was 29 pages. It's about a cat that's trying to save his master from the devil.
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
And it's so short, I don't want to tell you anymore. I gave it 4 stars. It was fun.
Yeah, I love it. I gave it 5 stars. So
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite short stories that I've read so far. I'm reading The Tragical History of Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe. I'm tweaking this one a little bit because this is actually a play, but it's short. It's roughly 76 pages, and it's about Dr. Faustus and his experience. I don't really know too much about it except that when I read A Discovery of Witches, this play is mentioned as well as Christopher Marlowe, and so I'm excited to find out more about this because I was reading Discovery of Witches. Like, I love reading books within books.
Yeah.
And Naomi from Naomi's Bookshelf is going to be reading this month also. So when I saw that she was reading it, I was like, oh, I can buddy read it with her. And it'll help me because I'm going to be reading the next Discovery of Witches book. And I probably don't need to have read it, but I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
So, and it gives me that spells and incantations. Discovery of Witches is all about magic.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about this one and excited to buddy read it with Naomi. Next school of magic is artificery, which is the earth setting. And since I already know everything there is
You're
to
a
know.
dwarf.
Yeah. I don't need to take this class. I'm brilliant already.
I'm not taking it
And
either.
humble. So we don't have to worry about that one. Then there is inscription. For inscription, we're learning glyph of strength. And so I actually do have to take this one because when I'm going to be creating bone conduits, I'm going to be wanting to do inscriptions on them.
Okay.
And that's probably a good beginner glyph. So for that, you have to read an intimidating book. Les Mis. That's what I'm reading.
How many pages is there?
Over 1,200. Yeah, this is a hefty book because these are thin pages, right? So it's a very
paper
big.
thin.
It doesn't look that big here, but let's see, it's 1,200. I think it's
Looks
like
like a
1,200. 1,230 something pages. And so I am on page 122 now. So I've actually started this one, but this one is going to take me months to read. So as long as I get this one done before August, I will fulfill my class of inscription.
You'll do it.
Yeah.
You'll do it.
And this is intimidating for all the reasons that you can imagine. It's very long, but also Victor Hugo talks a lot about parts of history in this that I'm not as strongly aware of. Like, I know some of it, but I don't know.
Revolution.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it's post-revolution, so it's actually later on.
Oh.
And it's like 1817. There's this one little chapter that I just read that's like all the things that are currently going on in 1817. And he's just listing some of the highlights of that year. So it's interesting, but it's also stuff that I'm not as knowledgeable in. So like that's intimidating for me. Next, another class that we're taking together.
Woo.
And this is lore.
I love
lore's
lore.
fun. So we're going to be focusing on myths most known. So, all the myths that are pretty well known. And this, you need to read a book that was inspired by mythology.
Okay, so for lore, I'm reading a book called Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. This was given to me by Danielle from Bookara. Thank you, Danielle. I finished reading it. It's a Korean mythology about the fox.
Gumiho.
Gumiho, I think. It's a romance and
It's
mythology.
a fantasy, right?
Yes. Sci-fi fantasy, maybe? It did take me a long time to read. I found that the pacing was kind of off for me, but I gave it a 3.5. It was a good book. It had a lot of references to K-drama, which I watch a lot of K-drama, so this was fun to read.
I'm going to be reading Reflection by Elizabeth Lim. This is a Mulan retelling. So actually it's an adaptation of the movie Mulan. So what's interesting about this is the retelling aspect of it, like it's a twisted tale. Li Shang, the captain of the regiment that she joins, ends up getting like a death blow, and he goes to the underworld. He gets killed. And so she wants to go and rescue him. Well, when she's going to the underworld, she has to face King Yama. And King Yama is actually the god of the underworld in Chinese mythology. And so I thought this was perfect because not only are we getting to learn a bit about Chinese mythology, but I am pledging to Valinus, god of death and rebirth. So I think that reading a book about the Chinese god of death is actually like perfect. So this is like a great choice for, my plans.
I also want to read it. I really love Mulan, and so that sounds super cool.
The next school of magic is psionics and divination. So for this, you need to learn clairsentience, which I have no clue what that is.
I probably don't either, but well, I know I should. I did study psionics. That is definitely something that our little whisk community loves.
And so for that, you need to read a book set in the future.
I'm going to read Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey, and it's actually set in the year about 2350.
Okay, so not too far in the future now.
I have not read this, so this is my last book to read.
You slacker!
To read for my April classes. It is sci-fi, and it's about a derelict ship that they find. And there's a secret, and people are killing for that secret. That's all I know about it, but I'm excited to read. I'm going to take it with me when I go to California today. I have a good teacher. I'm excited.
I hope you have a good teacher, too. James S.A. Corey, I guess, is your teacher.
I guess that's how that works, huh?
Yeah, this is multiple people, actually. James S.A. Corey is at least 2 authors,
Really?
not one author. Yeah.
Where'd you get this book?
I bought it because I had heard so much about Leviathan Wakes, and I've been really wanting to read it. And so, this is a long series, though, so it's not...
Oh, it is? It's long?
It's a long series.
Okay. It's a chunker.
Yeah, it's a big book.
So it'll get me down to California and back.
I don't have to take psionics and divination, but I do have to take restoration because necromancers do get to do some healing.
People to life.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to be learning how to cure wounds, which, nice basic level understanding. I think it's pretty darn important.
You probably already know how to, huh? You've been teaching yourself a little bit.
A little bit. It could always be better.
Okay.
It could always be better. Okay. So for that, I'm going to be reading, and this is not the cover of the actual story, Cannery Row, you can see it up there, by John Steinbeck. And so this has Ed Ricketts in it, or at least has Doc Ricketts, which is a character based off the real life Ed Ricketts. And he was actually just a marine biologist. He wasn't a real doctor because, the prompt is a book featuring healers. I'm sorry, I never mentioned that. Within the small area of Cannery Row in Monterey at the time that this was written, he was the only doctor nearby, the only person that was knowledgeable enough to help people. So he actually acted as a doctor, and he would take care of the people in the town. Anytime they were ill or sick or something, he would run to their house and help them out. So not officially a healer, but a healer because he was there and he was the only one who had the knowledge and could help people. So he was healing people, just not like...
Sounds like he cared a lot.
Yeah, he just wasn't licensed. So I'm going to be using Doc Ricketts as a reference for learning how to cure wounds,
Cool.
which works out because I'm a big fan of him and he's pretty cute too. So he's not alive anymore. So then the other class in my final class is shapeshifting. And for this, I'm going to be learning how to create claws. Yeah. That's interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah. So for that, I'm going to be reading Sweet Thursday, which is the second book after Cannery Roast. This is also by John Steinbeck. And as you'll see, there is one cat, two cat. There are two cats on the cover. Cats have claws. And so that works because, I mean, I don't think there's any actual shape-shifting that happens in this book. But
she has to read a book that has claws on the cover.
I have my inspiration for learning how to make claws. So
Don't use them on me.
I don't plan on it. You're my new BFF. Unless you piss me off. So those are our plans for the Orilium TBR. I'm not going to be finishing it until I read Split Infinity and finish Neverending Story, but you're almost done.
Yep, I am almost done, but that just leaves me free to read a lot more books up until August.
Yeah, you're obviously the better scholar.
No, I just have more time. You're very busy. You're very, very busy.
Yeah, creating my terrible bone conduits.
No, yes, that's it. Inscribing them.
Well, I'm also trying to become an educator.
You're going to be attending
two
two schools. That makes it really difficult.
That is really difficult. So I better become a good necromancer, though, if I want to actually teach necromancy. So.
Yeah, just in case something happens to me, you need to bring me back to life.
No, that is not. I've learned my lesson. That's not the way it works. That's not the way it works. Don't do that.
I'll stay alive.
Okay. Staying alive, staying alive. Staying alive. Okay, so if you are also participating in the spring equinox,
we would like to hear what you're doing.
Yeah, so let us know in the comment section down below what your calling is, if you're taking any of the same classes as us, because we'd love to take classes with you.
And what kind of books are you reading?
Yeah, and let us know if you need study partners. She doesn't need a study partner. She's almost done.
Amy would like a study partner.
If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can see what happens in our schooling.
Yes, because it's a lot of studying. It is.
You say that, but you're almost done. She's just such a brilliant little teacher's pet. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you later.